welcome to our public session. The first item we have is speakers from the floor. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board tonight as a speaker from the floor on an item that is not on the agenda? Mr. Hooker, have we received any cards?
We have not.
Thank you. There are speakers cards at the back of the room if you'd like to speak on any agenda item, and they can be given to our town attorney, Ed Powell, or town manager, Curtis Swisher, sitting at this table. So we'll begin with the 2022 annual reports and 2023 budget requests. We'll begin with Kernersville Little League, and I'll recognize Rusty. And I know I've just said your name, Mr. Niles, but if you could repeat it for the records for the town.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Rusty Niles with Kernersville Little League. I'm here to request funding for our Southeast Regional Tournament once again. This year, once again, we're hosting the 8 states from the Southeast region. Some of y'all have probably heard this before, but it's Florida, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. That makes up the Southeast region for Little League. We are the regional host site for the 13U division, which is the next step to making it to the Little League World Series for that age bracket in Livermore, California. So it's a great honor to be recognized by Little League once again to host this tournament. I know of several cities that want this tournament this past year, and we were awarded it again. Florida was one of the biggest ones that wanted it down there with them. But like I said, we were fortunate to be awarded it again. And also with this year, we're going to pick 2 of the host teams that come to host our Challenger division for Little League. I don't know if y'all are aware of Challenger division, but it's for kids with disabilities that want to play baseball, and we team them up with players and help them hit the ball and get around the bases or whatever needs they need. So we will be hosting that on our opening night after right before we have our banquet for the teams. Part of our agreement is that we have to house 9 umpires and 8 states worth of teams, excluding if the North Carolina team is within driving distance, obviously. But so that entails putting them up in motels, and we also have to feed them 2 meals a day. And as y'all are aware, we're a nonprofit organization, so what funds we do raise during the season, it's getting harder and harder to get donations from folks. There's so many other organizations in the Kernersville area that are just flooding the same businesses over and over, and it's getting harder and harder to keep the funding for just the league in general, let alone something like this. Clark's Barbecue has been generous enough again to really work with us again this year for the banquet meal. You would be surprised how many people do not know what barbecue red slaw is. I was shocked. I thought everybody knew what it was, but last year there were a lot of people that were kind of hesitant to eat it. So we're just asking for your consideration to help with some funding and how so that we can make this an enjoyable experience for all these kids. I know in 2017 when I won the state championship, unfortunately we didn't get to go nowhere because we were the host city. So the kids had to play at the same league they've been playing with ever since they started t-ball. But it's a great experience for the kids, and I know the state tournament that year was held in Wilmington, and still to this day, the kids that I coached on that team will just talk about the great time they had at the motel and the pool. They care less about winning that championship, but they had an awesome time swimming in that pool, and being at the motel and everything. So some of these kids, it's a lifetime experience that they'll never understand. The kids on my team that year never have won any other state championship. Most of them went on to play at East Forsyth and Glenn High School, and never experienced a state championship run like that since in their whole baseball career. So it's a really great experience for them. So I just ask y'all to be your consideration once again for some funding.
Thank you, Rusty. Are there any questions?
Mr. Niles, I don't have a question, but we've all heard what a difference this program means in the lives of our kids. And I was just looking at your numbers. You're requesting $2 per client served for the year from the town. I would submit that that's one of the best investments we could make. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, sir. I've always, I've been with the league for over 16 years this year. And we're all volunteers out there. None of us, we do. I've not had a kid to play for 5 years now, neither. All my kids have aged out, but I'm still down there doing what I can do to help them. And I've had people ask me in the past why I would do something so long for free like that. And my answer has always been, if I can help one kid from not making a stupid mistake in life and having to deal with Mr. Summers over here, Chief Summers, and his officers, everything has been worth it. It's an opportunity that some kids never get to experience worldwide, and it's just a great feeling to be able to provide that for them. So thank you, sir. And thank
you.
y'all.
All right, next is crisis control. George Banks sent in the information, but is anyone here for crisis control? Okay, next is Crossroads Playhouse.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kristen Skidmore, and I'll be here tonight representing Crossroads Playhouse. Can I first just say thank you so much for having us here. This is truly an honor and a privilege to be here. So we wanted to take a few minutes to discuss our proposal for gaining money for a summer camp that we have coming up for teens in our area. As they were just mentioning with the Kernersville Little League, the opportunity that we have to change the life of a child, you can't measure. So I really appreciated what he said. That was beautiful. I have had the privilege of calling the Triad home. Although I have spent the last 10 years working within entertainment and as an entertainment manager for the Walt Disney Company, returning to this area has been a wonderful experience for my family, as we truly feel we have come home. My grandparents have called Kernersville home for the last 45 years. As such, I have dear and fond memories of growing up, spending as much time as I could with them here in Kernersville. And I now get to share this hometown and community feel that Kernersville provides to my two small children and my husband. He's from out west. I'm converting him to the East Coast, and he loves it. Knowing the community focus that Kernersville has, and with my experience in theater, I was really, really excited to join the theater community here. I was, however, amazed to find out, upon returning to Kernersville, that there is no theater venue, a place for local artists to showcase their talents and bring people of all ages and backgrounds together to celebrate the world around them through art. Crossroads Playhouse believes a downtown theater will enhance the tourism and economic development of Kernersville and give our citizens a fuller quality of life because of the community that the arts create. We have access to land on 215 North Cherry Street. Our site plan and building plans are being adjusted in order to comply with local and state codes. Your planning department has been incredibly helpful, and we wanted to take this time to express our gratitude. As we are working on our capital campaign, we felt that a teen theatrical summer camp would greatly benefit the citizens of Kernersville, as well as draw further attention to the need for a performance venue here. The funds gained from our request would be utilized for this Crossroads Playhouse summer camp. Within our town, teenagers who have an interest in learning about and growing in the arts and musical theater are honestly an underserved demographic. Drama Kids Incorporated, which is a wonderful organization, typically focuses on small children and pre-teenagers. Kernersville Little Theater, another great theatrical organization in the area, usually produces shows that are predominantly focused on adult actors. Our summer camp would provide the opportunity to fill the gap and offer valuable training and a community specifically catered to teenagers. Our summer camp will offer these teenagers the opportunity to put together the musical Anastasia. This show is a family-friendly Disney musical, and we will be only the second in North Carolina to present it. We will be partnering with the Botanical Gardens for an outdoor performance of the show that the students put together. They will be directed by Katie Jo Eisenhower, who has a master's in theater and experience directing over 50 musicals in the area. Our music director is Liz Dobler, who has a doctorate of musical arts and has taught at High Point University and UNCSA. I will be the stage manager for the camp, and I bring a Bachelor of Arts in Theater Education, as well as 10 years experience stage managing for the Walt Disney Company. The students who attend this summer camp will have the opportunity to be enriched, uplifted, and be able to receive high-quality training as we work together to share the story of Anastasia. We wanted to thank you again for allowing us, as well as KLT, to utilize the basement of the old library for rehearsals. Recently, KLT and Crossroads partnered together to have the rooms professionally cleaned by a local-owned business. The cost for the students attending the camp will be $250 per student. But thanks to a grant from the Forsyth County Arts Council, we'll be able to offer discounts and even scholarships to those families whose budgets would not allow for their children to attend the camp. The camp will run for 2 weeks from 9 a.m. to 12, with the performance on June 30th at 2 p.m. at the Botanical Gardens. We're greatly looking forward to this opportunity, but again hope to raise the awareness that there isn't a theater venue available here in Kernersville that we could be able to use for camps just like this one in the future. What greater experience can students and friends of the arts of all ages in our area have than to be able to perform, train, and showcase their talents in a theater space here in Kernersville? Greensboro and Winston-Salem are using millions of dollars to boost their arts communities, to drive their economies, community engagement, and tourism. In spite of this, there are no affordable theaters in the triad for local artists to be able to rent. That is one of the main reasons for the existence of Crossroads Playhouse and a main motivation behind wanting to create our musical theater summer camp. Looking back at the beautiful and rich history of Kernersville, Jules Kerner had a dream that turned into a reality. The Folly was a place for him to display his art and have social gatherings. A few years later, his wife added to the dream and created a theater on the 4th floor. Polly Alice Kerner wanted to bring culture to the town and help the youth become better people through the arts. It turns out that their theater was the very first private little theater in the entire country. Kernersville is currently one of only 2 towns in North Carolina with a population of over 25,000 people that doesn't have our own performance space. Crossroads Playhouse is asking you to continue the Kerner's dream for Kernersville and validate all that they did for this town through the arts. Make their dream your own. Reclaim our artistic heritage by donating our grant request to help us enrich the youth of our community and raise awareness for a new downtown performance venue. Crossroads Playhouse will be an intimate theater of 134 seats. It will keep the spirit of performance and social gatherings alive and well in Kernersville, just like the Kerners intended. A place to uplift our community, gather together, showcase the many talents of our citizens, and create a beautiful place that will enrich our lives for generations to come. We would be honored to utilize any funds received from our grant proposal to bless the lives of the community members of Kernersville. This will be a youth-engaging musical theater summer camp, and we hope to continue on our endeavor to build Kernersville its very own theater. Thank you so much for your time and consideration this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
And I'll ask one more time, is there anyone here from Crisis Control to present their funding request? Okay, we'll move on then to item C, consideration of a resolution setting the date of a public hearing for a voluntary annexation petition by the property owner for property located at 240 Perry Road. Mr. Swisher?
Madam Mayor, this is a piece of property. It is on Perry Road at 240 Perry Road. As you can see, it's a little over 10 acres. They're asking to annex that property into the town of Kernersville. If the board adopts this resolution, that hearing will be held May the 2nd in the courtroom at the board meeting.
Okay, do I have a motion? I have a motion by Alderman Thompson. I have a second by Alderman Penix. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. All right, item D is discussion and consideration of the sale of property to NCDOT for the Big Mill Farm project. This has been discussed at a couple Board of Alderman meetings. So, Mr. Swisher, if you could.
Yeah, at the last meeting, the board discussed it, and there was a remnant piece of this parcel that was left over. It's a little bit less than half an acre. It's like 0.39 or 0.41. I think Alderman Thompson asked about would they take it all. So I asked the board to continue it until the next meeting so I can get an answer. I went back to DOT, asked them if they could take it all. They won't take it, but they're willing to buy that remnant. So they offered $10,000 and some dollars for it. Instead of $275, which was the initial offer for most of the property. They've now updated their offer, and it is now $74,475. So my recommendation to you before was to sell them the parcel. My recommendation is to still sell them the parcel, including the remnant. So that will be all of the town parcel there. Really, the remnant was no good to us. As Alderman Thompson pointed out, it had no access or anything else. So, if they're willing to buy it and take it all, then I would recommend to the board to sell it all to them.
All right, do I have a motion? I have a motion by Alderman Penix.
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Apple. All those in favor? It's unanimous. All right, the next item for consideration is an agreement with the Kernersville Cycling Club regarding the Kernersville Mountain Bike Park. Mr. Swisher?
We entered into the initial agreement with the Kernersville Cycling Club in 2013, I believe. It was a 10-year agreement. That agreement was just slightly different than this agreement. The initial agreement was for them to develop the trails out there, and this is for the Kernersville Mountain Bike Park down off of Smith Edwards Road. So they developed the trails with some assistance from the town, but the trails mainly were developed by them. So the agreement expired, or will expire, I think, maybe next month. So they've contacted the town and asked if we would be willing to enter into another agreement. You have that agreement in front of you. It pretty much mirrors the first agreement, except for we've added in there maintain, develop and maintain, because they're still developing new trails where they can find a place to develop those trails. It's been a great partnership, been a great park. I guess a lot of use. We're now looking at ways to actually make the parking lot bigger so that we can have more folks park down there. Because if you go on a nice weekend, it's pretty hard to get in and park. So I know folks now park up at the top of the hill there. It's Hayworth Miller. We'll ride their bike down and go to the mountain bike park. So it's a little bit trickier now that Mason Grove Road is 4 lanes. It used to be 2 lanes with Smith Edwards, but now it's 4 lanes. So it's a little more traffic on it now than what it was, but still gets a lot of use. Staff is in favor of renewing the agreement and having it as 5-year term with a renewable 5-year term. So basically it would be for 10 years. If they're still in existence at the end of 5 and want to continue it, then we don't have a problem extending it.
Well, the cycling club has done a great job with the mountain bike park. They maintain an ability for people to check online to see if the park is open. They'll close it when the weather conditions are are bad if it's too wet to ride, it's too snowy to ride, so that the trails stay in good shape. And they've done a really good job working with volunteers, especially numerous Eagle Scout projects to build the features for that park. So I think it has been a very good agreement, a good partnership with the town of Kernersville. I think the cycling club has put a lot into that and made this amenity possible for our community, which is kind of a unique amenity. People enjoy it who ride here from other communities as well. I'm not sure you could put a value on what they've contributed to that. It's just been little improvements to the trails and developing the trail system, and just a real way to make kind of this high-impact, challenging bicycle riding available for teenagers, for families. Chris, you look like you may have been out there. Yeah? Do you have more to add?
Pardon?
Do you have more to add?
No.
So, all right, do we have a motion to continue our lease with our agreement with the Kernersville Cycling Club?
So moved.
Okay, I've got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Apple.
Second.
Second by Alderman Thompson. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. So, and I know some of the folks from the earlier presentations have left already, but the Little League, Crisis Control, the Playhouse, the volunteers with the cycling club, the people who pitch in for the special cleanup events at the mountain bike park. I mean, volunteers really have a tremendous impact on this community in a positive way, and the amenities and services that can be provided, and we really appreciate all of that volunteer involvement in our town. All right, now the nuts and bolts, the downtown parking lot. Mr. Swisher, please tell us there's good news.
Well, if you want me to lie to you, I will. But if you want me to be honest, we've hit a little snag.
All right.
And since it's Dorn's snag and he's not going to have it started by March, had to rub him a little bit there.
Well, this is April, so.
Yeah, and you notice it's not started. And he won't take my license, just go dump some gravel on it and put a sign up that says public parking. So I'll let him explain to you, since he knows better what's happened with the parking lot. But I can tell you it's not real good news, but you might can make it something out of it maybe.
The not so good news was the bid, which on March 17th, we accepted bids for the project, which you all are aware that's already been planned, designed, permitted. We're ready to go other than the bids. And we had two separate engineers' estimates, one in-house and one with an outside engineer. The estimates were both in the low 300 range. The low bid was 535. Puts us way out of the range of an informal bid. So if we proceed with this project, even at that price tag, we got to go back out for a new bid in the formal process. But well, I guess the reason we're here tonight is does the board want to proceed with this parking lot at that price tag? And I will remind you all, we have a $200,000 grant from one of our representatives. So with that, there's other funding sources we could use. We can pull $100,000 out of stormwater, and we could pull around $40,000 from CCUC for the utility work, which still puts us in a range of needing another $185,000 to $200,000 from the general fund to actually proceed with the project. So before I would go out to the formal bid, I would want the board to say yes or no whether you want to proceed with the project.
And we were originally looking at the $200,000 grant plus another 120 to 125. Now we're looking at 200,000 plus another 180, and then like Dorn said, taking the difference out of two other sources of funding instead of the general fund. So either way it goes, I mean, that parking lot right now, until we put it out to bid, it may come in more. It's around $500-some thousand. The grant, the deadline for the grant says that the project has to be completed by July of 2023. I can tell you that we probably will not hit July of 2023. We've asked for an extension of the grant. I think they will grant an extension. I do not think they will grant a year or two. So if the board said, well, we'd just like to wait and see if it's cheaper next year, I don't think they will give you that long. They usually like to see that you've kind of got it in process and it's just labor or materials that's holding it up. The board decides not to move forward with it. We think we would probably have to reimburse $35,000 to $40,000, which is what we've already spent of the grant for the design. We would have to reimburse that, and then the other remaining difference be $155,000 or whatever it might be. So it's kind of where we are. And Dorn, as he said, it's not, we got to go back out and bid. So there's no great guarantee that it will come in at 535. Is that what it was? Yes. We hope it will. Can't tell you. How long, what is it, about 3 weeks if you go out to formal bid? But you have to put
If the board were to approve tonight, yes, the contracts, everything are ready. We could go to bid immediately, bring it to the next board meeting for approval, assuming we get 3 bids. However, there is some delays in supplies. So we're looking at, even if it gets approved at the next board meeting, it's probably September before we'd actually finish the project.
So you have the option of tonight, you can say, no, we don't want to do it. Or you can say, put it out to formal bid and see what the bids come back. And then if they come back and they're higher than what they are right now, then at the May meeting, you can say, no, we don't want to do it. Or you can say, yes, we want to do it. Either you have that option. So just because we put it out to formal bid, I mean, we can still not do the project, correct?
Correct.
So you have that option. But we don't know, I mean, we can't tell you now because it rolled over into the formal bid process, and who knows what that may bring back. It may come back cheaper. I'm not optimistic about that happening, but who knows?
And just for clarification, what dollar amount triggers the formal bid process?
$500,000.
$500,000, okay.
Now, and I've pestered Dorn for 2 weeks about, can we do some of this ourselves and get under that? And he tells me that that's not allowed, which I figured it might not be, but it's worth asking. So we're just barely over that limit, but that's where we are.
Well, I think we ought to put it out for the bids. And, I mean, I think we need that project. And it would be a big, big disappointment to the town merchants.
I've gotten 2 calls or 3 calls in the last couple of weeks because it hasn't been started, and so I've gotten 2 or 3 calls. A couple of them from the downtown merchants, and one of them from a non-downtown merchant asking when that parking lot was going to start. Yeah. And there is some interest in it, obviously not just from the merchants, but from folks that visit downtown for whatever reason. Yeah, and parking is still tight, even though we worked it out for folks to park over here. This parking lot is now full again about every day. And that one is too again.
Well, it was, I noticed today it was full out here. I mean, we need it, and it's not going to get any cheaper.
I don't
Is
think
it,
so.
Dorn? I don't know of anything that ever gets any cheaper.
It's what's killed it. Dorn and I were talking today, and it's what's killed it is all of the ARPA money that's out there. There's just so much out there to do that a small project, I mean, this is small compared to a lot of them. Folks just don't want them. So if they bid on it, they just throw out a number and figure, hey, if we get it, it's worth our time. If we don't, no big deal. I mean, it has went up. I mean, cost of work's gone up all in every area, not just parking lots.
That would be my opinion to move forward.
I agree with Alderman Penix. I think we had some heartfelt concerns expressed by several of our downtown merchants before Christmas about the parking situation over there. And what we did, Curtis, I think was extremely creative, and I appreciate your thinking and coming up with the solution of the town lot. But I agree with Alderman Penix that the downtown merchants deserve for us to do that. The parking for things like Spring Folly and the downtown events is at a premium as it is. And I just feel like, it doesn't do us any good to recruit and just sustain downtown businesses. We can have all the ribbon cuttings in the world, but if the customers can't park and get to the store, it's all for naught. So I agree 100% with what Alderman Penix said.
Do we need a vote on this? I agree. I don't think prices are going down, and we need the parking. So I'd make a motion to approve moving forward with the formal bid process.
Okay, I've got a motion by Alderman Thompson,
Second.
second by Alderman Penix. All those in favor? It's unanimous. I'd have to agree, and I've gone to different places in the state and met with mayors in other communities, and having traffic, while it's easy to complain about it, there's many mayors who would like to see more traffic in their communities. And if you think back, the town proactively adopted some development policies for the downtown that changed the parking requirements that businesses had to have in order to open. And so I think having stress right now on our downtown parking is a measure of a success in keeping our downtown vibrant and redevelopment. And while there's always more to be done with a historic downtown area for redevelopment, vibrancy, appearance, and spirit, I think that having these stresses on our parking right now are a good measurement of success that the town's experienced. And, I agree with what all three of you have said, that we have, to have a truly successful downtown, we need to go ahead with these plans we've made over a long period of time to get the property, to remove the building on the property, to have the grant awarded to help with it, and to get this work done. So I'm hopeful that the bid process goes well, and that we get the 3 bids. And I think this is a good call by our town.
Thank you.
Is there anything on this before we move on? All right, Doran, send that out to everybody. Postcards to everyone.
I'll just go ahead and stay right here.
All right, anything else on the public session, Mr. Swisher? All right, we are on to the consent agenda. These matters are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the matter will be removed from the consent agenda and considered under the following item: A, approval of minutes for the March 1 meeting, B, approval of minutes for the March 7 meeting, and C, Forsyth County tax refund. Would anyone in the audience, citizen or staff member, like to see any of these items removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, is there any elected officials who'd like to see any of these items removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Thompson,
Second.
second by Mayor Pro Tem Apple. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Now we are to the town manager's report, and I'm concerned that Doran is sitting on the front row still. You don't have anything? Okay, matters to be presented by the town attorney.
No, I don't have any report, but we do have need for a closed session.
Okay. All right, matters to be presented by the mayor and board of aldermen. Mr. Thompson.
I have nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Apple.
I just want to say, just real quickly, we have great staff and great department heads. And I had an opportunity to speak with a business roundtable group this morning. And if we'd taken a vote in that room, we would have had unanimous consent that we're very fortunate to have the management team that Curtis and others have recruited. So thank you for all you do for the town.
Thank you. Mr. Penix?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate everyone joining us. Be on the lookout because we have exciting news from our parks coming out. Civitan Park is close to being done. We've got a rec center groundbreaking that'll be announced soon, and so great things are happening in Kernersville, so stay tuned for more details. At this time, we do have a request for a closed session.
Madam Mayor, pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11, I move that the board go into closed session to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged.
Okay, I have a motion for a closed session.
Second.
Got a second by Alderman Thompson. All those in favor? It's unanimous. This board is now in closed session. Thank you all for joining us.
We can time ourselves out.
I cleared it out.
Oh, you did. Good job.
Didn't
See, you're learning fast. You didn't need to.
Joe, you ready?
Go ready. Joe, stay ready.
All right, are we about ready to go back? Welcome back to the regular meeting of the Kernersville Board of Aldermen. Is there any further business before the board this evening? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Alderman Thompson. Second by Alderman Penix. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Thank you very much. This meeting is now adjourned.
Once again, Mayor, you ran a good meeting.